Chris, I'm so happy to see you, even though that this is quite unusual for me to have an interview with you virtually.
You too.
It felt really, as I was telling your team earlier, surreal, weird, emotional to see that video of yours on Instagram against a very unusual, empty manufacturer, a place where, you know, it's usually full of life and full of designers, employees, artisans, yet you were there with a very strong sense of positive storytelling, attitude, telling all the fans and the friends of IWC that this too will pass. Can you tell us a little bit more about that day when you were filming this video? Did it feel very emotional for you?
You know, obviously what we're making sure is that all the health and safety distances. That's why obviously there was nobody else on screen with me in the immediate vicinity, and I didn't have people walking past the camera in front of me. But behind me, behind the glass, there's people working.
I'm standing here in front of our over 1,000 square meter clean room watch movement assembly space, where our watchmakers assemble and test all of our in-house movements.
It's true that on that particular day, what I like having designed this manufacturing center is the fact that you have a place where you can naturally talk about the watches and the story. And it doesn't feel like it's a place that I have to decorate for a certain theme or anything like that. When I talk about who we are, how our watches look, what the Portuguesa means to us, I always feel it comes naturally in that environment because we always designed it to represent who we are.
In this unique context, we're going to be doing our Watches and Wonders and the launch of our new collection a little bit differently. Through a series of videos and in-depth conversations with the people behind IWC, we're going to be bringing our new watches from our home directly to yours.
How was the experience of being part of a virtual exhibition such as Watches and Wonders? I mean, whoever knows the brand, in addition to its great storytelling, its heritage, its impeccable sense of style, social responsibility, and all of the values that we are linked to, it's also a fun brand. It's a brand that brings people together. It's the brand that made us laugh, made us stay up till 4 a.m., made us party in film festivals. For us to be part of a virtual exhibition, it was something that we were not expecting. So how did you cope with that?
Absolutely right. You know, for us, this is also a little bit of a different mix of media than what we've normally used to get an atmosphere across. And this kind of immersive thing that you feel from IWC is obviously easier for us if you're physically present to do it in event formats and in physical atmospheres than it is to do on .com, where I have to worry about the loading speed and the scrolling experience and all the rest of it. So that's definitely true. However, we try to get as much of this across as possible. So we've done two things specifically. We actually built our Geneva environment in VR and put it on the website.
How was the feedback from your
Literally, it's the first time that actually all our clients are able to sort of come to Geneva and have a look at what we would have done, even though we unfortunately haven't done it physically this year. And then the team that would normally work on other effects, we suddenly started to work on AR models of virtual try-on on the website, where you can use the AR camera tech to put the watches on your wrist. And of course, they are things that we only had capacity for because we weren't doing certain other things. So a little bit of that playfulness is transferred into the digital Watches and Wonders, but I would agree with you that on the whole it's a little bit more structured and serious by its very nature. It's not as playful for sure. And the other thing we're trying to do is to bring as much of sort of the personal touch of IWC across in the videos as we can.
Our American founder, Florentine Aristo-Jones, crossed the Atlantic to set up IWC right here by the banks of the River Rhine. He harnessed the energy of the river to make highly precise pocket watches for the American market. It was this reputation that soon meant that IWC watches were used as marine deck observation watches on boats and ships around the planet. This was the inspiration for the first Portuguesa watch of 1939. Marine chronometer precision and the legibility of a nautical instrument for the wrist.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the emotional value for the Portuguesa collection, specifically for IWC, and how much is it different than the original 1939 design?
Yeah, so the Portuguese is a collection that's really close to our heart because it speaks about that connection we have with water and with navigation, which comes all the way from our founding story of our founder actually crossing the Atlantic Ocean to come over. And that was the starting point for IWC and what it represents. And from there onwards, I think if I distill the DNA of IWC into a couple of words, I think we have these very pure instrument watches that are very legible, very engineered, and that have a understated confidence. You know, it's not flashy. We're looking for that timeless design which tells a story, which looks as beautiful in 1939 as it does in 2000, as it does in hopefully 3000 at the end of the day. And it's that thing. It's not fashion, and it's not sort of this pure vintage retro-mindedness. It's looking for a design consistency which is timelessly beautiful of the day. You know, and this is something that I really love about, you know, these classic designs. Like when I look at the Portuguese chronograph, it's really one of those designs, you know, that was obviously created on the basis of something from 1939, but that feels up to date and current in 1995 and today. And really, this is what we're after. And in the Portuguese collection, that's perfectly represented. It's not a single tribute or vintage piece in there. It's all in-house engineered, responsibly sourced. We have a whole range of in-house movements, 5 of them in the Portuguese collection, 3 distinct in-house chronograph movements. And then a whole range of watches which have that timeless value of that instrument for the wrist that hopefully doesn't age in its appeal and its look and its feel. And I think that sends quite a good message about, you know, consumption in an environment like today, when we think about how much do we consume, how many times has it been shipped around the planet to get to a customer, how long does it last, how often do we have to replace it, can we repair it in 50 years time? And when you think that a perpetual calendar from IWC is pre-programmed for all the way to 2499 with some minimal updates, and we basically promise to look after that for a long, long time, I think you have a product which fits that brief quite a lot at the moment. And also we feel like every time the world is a little bit rocked and shaken by something like this, people are looking for a bit more understatement. They're looking for something that they enjoy and that says something about who they are without being too much in everybody's face. And I think the Portuguese is again one of those products.
There are a number of things that I would like to talk about, Chris, but let's focus on the company culture and all the values that IWC stands for. You guys launched a Time Well Shared initiative, which is a very important social volunteering project. Take us through this initiative and why it was created.
Yeah, so when this whole situation started, very quickly we were looking at 2 main things. We're obviously looking at the health and safety of our clients, of our colleagues, of everybody. That was the first concern. Once we had dealt with that, we immediately said, okay, but how can we stay in touch? How can we help? And how can we support the efforts? And of course, whether it's the volunteering program or the Good Tutor Finder or the fundraising element for Save the Children, but also here very locally, just to say, okay, let's see if the capacity that we have can be employed to help the current situation. And we had very great response, and we had a good example from our friends at Mercedes, who started making ventilator components in the consortium very quickly out of Brixworth that normally makes Formula 1 engines for Mercedes, together with McLaren, with a couple of other companies. And we put a request out here and see how we could help. And within just a few days, we were able to support a company here that makes laryngoscopes, which is the intubation probes that are used to connect ventilators to patients. They've had obviously their demand go through the absolute roof, and we sent a team of watchmakers who started working with them hand in hand to make those components for the intubation. It's just, it felt very natural and immediate. Everybody was like, okay, how can I help? What can I do? And I think this is one of those things in IWC that surprised me about our colleagues. You know, these are grueling hours that people have to work. And in the beginning, it's like, how many volunteers are going to find? And it's amazing. The response, people phoning afterwards saying, look, can I still be part of it? We've got more than enough people.
Amazing.
But it goes to show how people operate. You know, people they really are passionate about putting all their skills to use. And I think that's one of those things that I always loved here. You have to really try hard to make people stop doing something, but it's no problem getting people going.
Speaking about giving, Chris, when this pandemic started, everybody's thinking about the older people, the people that have a lower immunity, people that are more vulnerable, basically. And little did we know that the most vulnerable ones are the children that will not be able to go to school or get a proper education. IWC thought about that, and tell us a little bit more about the free education program. Why did you think about that, and how did you collaborate with Save the Children, and how important is it for IWC to be part of building these societies of educated children that never had the chance to learn, and when this pandemic hit, obviously their chances became very minimal.
Yeah. No, I think when you look at a lot of our charity work over the years has focused on children and youth, whether it's the Saint-Exupéry Youth Foundation or Laureus, they're all charities that are dedicated to helping children. And of course, we are very interested in that part, because to us that is the work that will go into building a future, and that we're building a much more equal future, because we all in our world depend on people having opportunities and education. Without that, we can't make society better. If we don't invest in the youngest and the most vulnerable, we just don't have a chance.
I love the book because it speaks to adults and children, and it plays a lot with imagination. And I think right now in this situation, we need to use our imagination to be in an optimistic and positive frame of mind.
And this is something that I see every time. I had a meeting 2 days ago with a 17-year-old watchmaker who had a sensational concept about a watch that is very close to his family story. And when you look at the whole thing, the passion that goes into that and the skill and the engineering is nothing short of amazing. And when we can manage to give people the kind of education and the training and the broadening of horizons, to be in a position where they're attracted to real creative and value-creating jobs, and they pick up that skill and they put that to use and come up with something amazing, it just goes to show time and again that if you see that correctly, what we can unleash in society is nothing short of sensational.
I see a new generation of young IWC watchmakers in the making right now.
We have the apprenticeship program, have had that running for years and years and years. These are people who are coming to us age 16, 17, very, very young people who are still in the process of finding all of their talents, all of their skills, and all of their personalities. You can mess up a lot in that time, and you can build a lot in that time.
Chris, it's very well known that IWC has a lot of friends of the house, reputed producers, directors, celebrities that have all played a very active role in the evolution and growth of the brand. How did you reach out to the faces of the brand in the light of the current pandemic? And how are you using their platforms to sort of share your values and your sense of social responsibility?
Yeah, no, luckily a lot of our ambassadors and friends of the brand, as you call them, we have a very organic and very natural relationship with. Yes, of course, we're working together, but at the same time, there are people who've often been very passionate about IWC and watchmaking long before we started working. If you think about James Marsden, Tom Brady, Bradley Cooper, they've been wearing our product, they've been genuinely passionate about the brand for quite some time. And then after that, of course, everybody now has some capacity and has a platform to use to inspire people and to give people entertainment a little bit, but also a sense of direction. And I think now that the scheduling of these things has become a little bit easier.
How are you using this period of self-reflection? Is there something that you would ultimately do differently moving forward on a personal and on a professional level?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is probably the longest time I've spent at home since I've, in the same city and country where I live since I started my professional life. I'm sure that's the same for many people.
Yeah.
I saw this comment by Lewis the other day that obviously since he started kart racing, that's probably the longest he's ever been in one place and is sort of not racing. So of course you reevaluate the nature of the hectic lifestyle that we normally lead. And I do think that due to this little crash course of digital technology that we all had. I think the balance will be better going forward. I'm confident that we don't need to travel any longer around the cities of Europe just to have presentations read to each other, things like that. You know, we will do virtually in the future for sure. However, I think people's ability to connect physically and to meet and to build relationships, that needs to go on, and I very much hope that it does go on. But it's more a rebalanced approach, I think, where we've seen now that a lot of things work in a different mode as well, and it's been a good proof of concept. This would otherwise have taken 10 more years, I'm sure. And also the way that we see the planet recovering a little bit at the moment. All of these things, you know, I think it will hopefully lead to a better balance.
Well, they always say a good way of dealing with the crisis is looking forward to things or projects or plans that you have for the future. And I am looking forward to an IWC very big gathering coming out of this, hopefully with the least damage, with all our loved ones safe and healthy. Hoping to see you very soon. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
And at least you can enjoy the view from wherever you are there.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris.